Welcome back to the new to UTK video series on regulations and resources. During this session, we will explore the essential routines and procedures to take into account when preparing for a co-taught UTK program. The conversation will encompass visuals and guidance on effectively incorporating visuals in your classroom to enhance the learning experience.
Of a level 3, a 2, and a 1 and a 0, and talking through with them and talking about when you might be using those different voices. So that's what you see here in the visual is outside might be a level 3 during partner work. It might be a level 2 during story time, a level 1, turn and talk. And then a level 0 might be in the library or in the line walking from class to class. But Carolyn, do you want to show them what you do with your fingers? I loved what you.
Oh, well, there's a couple of things. So, as you introduce this, you have the full support here, right? It's stating what the levels are. Many of our kids can recognize numbers. There's a picture to go with what the environment is that goes with this voice level. And then eventually I can just hold up, fingers to prompt them. Oh, right now my voice should be a. And so I'm not giving all that negative redirection. I'm just reminding them. But a lot of times I just kind of snip my fingers. Like I just will make eye contact with somebody and snip my fingers, which means like bring it down a notch. Level 2, it might be my next prompt if I need to. So again, these are all minimally invasive ways of teaching expectations and redirecting to the expectation, which is great.
Exactly. And same idea for the movement meter. It's the idea, when you're dancing and doing the movement breaks, that's a level 3, right? Your whole body can be moving. Level 2 might be just your hands, or level 2 might just be your feet, right? And then level 1 being more sedentary, right? The sitting during story time, during the shared reading.
Here are some helpful visuals to use in the classroom.
Hi everybody, we're here today at our Make It Take It workshop for UTK and early childhood, and I wanted to show you some of the visuals that we're offering here today. So up here you see a visual that can be laminated and then cut into 3 strips, which we see mounted here. And the idea is that you're giving your students more than one choice of a way to sit. We all tell our kids to sit crisscross applesauce, but for some kids it gives them the choice of still remaining within their square, but sitting like a mountain with knees up, or sitting like a mermaid with legs off to the side. Either way, they're meeting our expectation of staying in their square, but it's giving them some choices. Up here, we have an arrival and dismissal visual. And this is really instructing your students on what are the things I need to put away when I arrive at school. The reason the second column is blank, it's an opportunity for you to customize this. For instance, if your students arrive and you want their backpacks put on a hook, then you may put a picture up here of a backpack on a hook. Or perhaps the backpacks are going into a cubby in your classroom, then you would put a picture of a backpack in a cubby. And so same here, where do your water bottles go? Take a picture of that. What's the expectation for where to put your lunchbox? Where do I put my take-home folder? And then the go button is, when I've put these things away, where do I go next? So perhaps your students are being redirected to the carpet, then it would be great to put a picture of your carpet squares here with perhaps a student sitting in one of these fashions, and then kids know clearly what the expectation is. And when we outline our expectations for our kids, they're more likely to follow your directions. Okay, and then that brings us down here to the Core 40 board. And this is really, these are visuals for the 40 most words or requests or needs within the language. And this is going to support our learners that don't necessarily have full expressive language, or perhaps when feelings get big, it's more difficult for us to access our language. So here we've got 2 prompts, I feel, and then it's got choices here for the students. So on this one, you could cut this up and they could have Velcro choices to express how they feel. And then here, this would be needs. I need, and then there's a variety of common needs that your students may have in the classroom. So again, this might be a student with an IEP that has some difficulty with expression. It could just be a student with a delay in expressive language. It could be a second language learner, but this is a nice option. We want our students to be able to let us know what their feelings and needs are, and this gives them an alternative choice to language. Okay, hi again. This is our next station of Make It Take It. So what we see here is we know that our little ones often need instruction on how to wash hands. And rather than feeling like I need to be standing by that sink prompting the steps for my students, I can use this visual support. I can pre-teach this support perhaps as part of my morning meeting on my slide deck, so the students are familiar with it by the time they see it at a sink. And by following the steps, which are clearly labeled here and pictured, it increases the probability of independence for our students, and eventually this can be faded away by kindergarten or first grade because they've learned those steps. We know that this is something that's been emphasized the last few years with the pandemic, but typically coming into school, many of our students don't have this mastery. So that's a great support. We have two different meters here. The first one is a voice meter. And again, this helps our students to understand what kind of voice we should have in a particular setting or environment. And we don't use the same voice all the time. Sometimes we have kids who use their whisper, whisper baby voice everywhere, and we have others who are using their big playground voice everywhere. And we want to teach them a little bit more about voice control. So by using the voice meter, again, I can pre-teach this skill whole group, familiarize my students with this visual support, and then I can post it as part of my classroom environment. And I like this one because it's showing the faces, it's showing the environment. There isn't a lot of wording up here because we're dealing with younger children who don't necessarily have the reading skills. And it labels, we can teach to what level 3 means. It's typically out on the playground. We can teach to the different levels. And pretty soon you can be lining your kids up and you can just be holding up a finger of level 1 so that I don't constantly have to be verbally prompting my kids. And eventually they will know exactly what you mean when you hold up 1 finger or 2, and saving that level 3 voice for outside. Same concept goes here with the movement meter. And we know we're constantly in schools telling kids, walking feet. As soon as they ask to go to the bathroom, they're running as fast as they can to the bathroom. Somebody that they don't even know is prompting them to slow down and walk. So again, if this is something that would be wonderful to adopt site-wide so that the students are learning these strategies in UTK, but these visuals become part of their school environment throughout the years and they don't always have to be retaught. So same concept as the voice meter, but it's movement. When should I be not walking at all? When the freeze bell rings at recess, I should be frozen. That would be a level 0. In hallways, during a fire drill, when I'm in line, I should be having normal walking. And then we talk about when it's okay to have a fast walk or perhaps a running. Okay, so over here on this side, these are very fun. These are called super symbols. And we can see a finished product right here. Now, you would be receiving this format. You would need to cut them out and laminate them. And then we group them and tab them, you can see, for easy access. And what we do is we wear this with our lanyard so that I have these visual prompts with me no matter what environment I'm in with my students. I'm walking in line, I'm out to lunch, whatever it may be, they're readily available. So maybe somebody needs a prompt to keep their hands to themselves. Again, I've pre-taught these symbols so that the students know what they mean. I've paired it with the word because sometimes we have kids that can read. So those are there, and they're also there to help the adults as well. But we have hands and feet to self, quiet voice, a super symbol for sitting like we talked about earlier, the 3 ways to sit. So I'm not having to always verbally prompt my students. We have listen with the hand on the ear, a prompt for raising hand, and a prompt for lining up. So again, we could be lining up, I could be giving them the signal to line up, I could be holding up number 1 for my voice meter, and I haven't even had to say a word. So these are fantastic. I highly encourage any adults in the room to be using the super symbols. Students are very responsive to them, and we don't want to get in the habit of just telling our kids to do all the time because then they become dependent on those prompts and don't become independent thinkers. So this is sort of a downgrade, if you will, on the prompt, and can help them to become more independent. Okay, station 3, last but not least, we have our break area. And we're going to talk a little bit about the primary components of having a break area in your room. First of all, a break area is a place for students to take a break, just like we do this. If I'm sitting in a lengthy meeting, whoopsie, I may get up and take a natural break by going to the restroom, or I may pick up my phone and just check it for a minute just to give myself that quick brain break. Well, kids need this too. And when we offer kids a place to take that break that is safe, neutral, not punishing, not rewarding, it is more likely that students will be able to self-regulate and keep themselves in check, just like we do. So what are the key things we want in a break area? First of all, we have the break card. And this is a great way for students to request a break, or as an adult and our students are starting to practice this skill, I may prompt someone a break. If I see somebody who's starting to get those signs of scowling or furrowing their brow and it's looking like their body's getting tense, I might say, hey buddy, your body looks like you might need a break. Would you like to take a break? So I'm not directing the student to take a break. It's ultimately a choice, but I might be planting that seed. I can hand them the break card, and when they get to the break area, there's a check-in and check-out sign, which isn't visualized here, but it is in the drive in the folder for the break area. And your students can check in by placing this on a Velcro on the inbox, and they can check out again when they're finished. So this is just a great part of the procedure and accountability. Once they're in the break area, again, we want this to be a neutral space, a neutral experience. I'm really there to identify how I'm feeling and picking a strategy for helping me cope with that feeling. So we do have a feelings chart here, which I would encourage you to post in your break area, and this might be the first step when the student gets into the break area. Now for the younger students, we're really focusing kind of on happy, sad, and angry or mad. And so again, embedding these things into your morning meeting or into your SEL learning time is a great way to front load them with the skills they need before they get to the break area. So identifying feelings is the first thing. So when I identify that I'm feeling sad right now because my friend's not talking to me, then I have identified how I'm feeling, and then I'm going to come up with a calming strategy. And we have a lot of calming strategies here. I'll show you a few examples. So on this one, this is an example of deep breathing. We all practice that at times. This one is very age appropriate for your students, and we can teach them. We're going to smell the flower and then blow out the candle. And this visual support, again, pre-teaching this, so they are familiar with it when they get to the break area. It's very simple. They love the analogy with the flower and the candles, and this is a great way of deep breathing. We also have the opportunity for them to have a few prompts, such as taking 5 minutes. Maybe I'm the type of kid that I just want to chill. I don't necessarily want to do anything, and that's fine. We have a lot of choices here because everybody's different. Perhaps the student wants to do a few wall push-ups, and they like the deep pressure and they like the movement, and that helps them to calm down. Or we could have a calming box. Again, keeping this neutral. We don't want things that are super fun and playful type toys. We want to put some fidgets in here, things that might help us calm down our body, using our muscles, or perhaps it's mind distracting. So we've all kind of seen those water bottles where we put the oil and the glitter in, and that's a way to just kind of take my mind somewhere else and make me relax and forget about what was making me sad or mad before. So we have multiple examples here, and last but not least, I should have mentioned this kind of after the feelings, but once I've checked in and identified my feelings, I'm going to set the timer for 3 minutes. And for your students, a sand timer or a visual timer, something that doesn't involve necessarily understanding numbers, might be the best choices in terms of timer. So if you had a 3-minute sand timer there, they don't even have to worry about what's 3 minutes. It's just turn it over, and when the sand is gone through, I'm all done. And then they check back in at the end. How am I feeling now after I've used a calming strategy? Well, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling happy. I'm ready to go join the group again. So this whole procedure, even though we've talked a lot here, is intended to last about 3 minutes. We do sometimes give the student an opportunity, especially if they're not looking like they're fully regulated, to ask for another minute. And that gives them the ability to have some voice and some control over self-regulation. So that's a great strategy too. So if you're not able to be here today, visit that break folder that is in the drive, and this gives you an idea of how to set it up.